This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the next dimension in paranormal programming. And I bring you greetings and salutations from the Southern Command Post, where it is incredibly hot down here in Vero Beach in Fellsmere, Florida. But folks, not nearly as hot as the show we've got for you tonight. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have Mr. Alan Slonaker with us tonight. Alan's a brother law enforcement officer from the great Commonwealth of Virginia. He's a native of the City of Richmond, and he grew up in a Victorian-era home in the city's downtown. It was there that he had his first brushes with the paranormal. Alan was exposed to the city's history and lore at a very early age, and that sparked a lifelong interest in history and the paranormal, which ultimately led him to join the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation in 2007. In joining CPRI, he was thrilled to find a group that approached the study of the paranormal in such an interesting and professional manner. Alan currently serves as the regional director for CPRI in Central Virginia. Alan has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice from Virginia Commonwealth University, with minor courses of study in sociology and urban planning. He has spent nearly 30 years involved in the public safety field, including search and rescue, EMS, and law enforcement. Alan has spent the last 20 years as a police officer, having served as a criminal investigator and now as a police trainer. His interests include almost anything involving history, almost anything involving Star Wars, and spending as much time on his Harley Davidson as possible. Alan currently lives in Richmond, Virginia area, and has a very patient wife, and Monica, and two wonderful children. Alan, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout, and thank you for your service, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And it's great talking to a brother law enforcement officer that also is into the paranormal. How in the world did you get there from here, so to speak?
I've always had an interest in this as far back as I can remember, from childhood. The house I grew up in was built in the 1890s. It's a older neighborhood in Richmond's downtown, and it had its share of activity. It was sporadic, probably what we would call residual today, but it definitely had its share of activity. Mm-hmm. I had another encounter where I ran across I guess what we call a shadow person at one point when I was a child, and that just stuck with me, and always wanted to know more. What is this about? What's going on? And it's never left.
Well, as a child, did you have obviously growing up in Richmond? It's an area of rich history. Did you have many encounters as a child? Was it just the one, or was it a persistent thing for you?
No, the home that I grew up in, it had activity, but the activity was sporadic. I mean, it was mostly like, for example, you would hear footsteps on the mm-hmm. second floor. Nobody was home, and then you may go, some period of time, 3
sure.
months, 6 months, whatever, and then something else happens to you,
Mm-hmm.
And it was that kind of thing. So it wasn't often, but it was regular.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something, my father, he passed in 2003, and he had known the family that had built the house. In fact, we were the second owners of the house when my dad bought it in 1970. And so he knew everything about it, and he believed in it, and had his own experiences. So it just became accustomed to it.
Sure.
But again, you have that curiosity, and I think my childhood curiosity stayed with me into middle age.
Yeah.
And no
Now,
signs of leaving yet.
no, I hear you there. How long have you actually been conducting investigations? I know you've been with CPRI since 2007, but were you actually out there working cases, if you will, prior to that?
No, I wasn't, and I was always a pretty voracious reader of anything paranormal. But I hadn't been involved in any investigations. I hadn't been involved with any organizations. So I kind of came to CPRI as a blank slate, and after looking for groups, and I wanted to find an organization that was very serious about it, was professional about it, and was very fortunate, very blessed to get taken in by the organization and shown the ropes by really some of the smartest people I've ever met.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Stakeout. My guest tonight, Alan Slonaker. Alan, just before the break, we started talking a little bit about the group that you're involved with, CPRI, since, 2007. Trying to find a large group, because I noticed that you're the regional director for Central Virginia. So is it a larger group?
No, we actually do try to keep the organization relatively small. We have, and the membership has fluctuated over time, but probably a couple dozen members at this point. And a core group of probably 12 right at the moment, I'd say, of very active members. The organization, CPRI, it stands for the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation, and it's been around since 2000. It was founded by our fearless leaders, plural, actually, Bobby Atrastain and Tommy Amos, who, again, two of the really smartest people I know, and they founded the group in 2000, and it is built from there. We are a statewide group, so in order to facilitate cases coming in and information going out, we have regional directors that cover various portions of the state. So I have Central Virginia. We have somebody in Northern Virginia. Down at the beach, and then out in the Shenandoah Valley area, Southwest.
Okay. Well, you were talking about finding a group that kind of fit in with your philosophies and how you viewed paranormal research. Tell me a little bit about the philosophies of the group, some of the work that you guys do, and how you approach paranormal research and investigation.
Right. Well, one of the things that I knew I didn't want to do when I got involved in this was I wanted to go beyond a group that was just enthusiasts. I wanted to get into a group that was really interested in investigating and documenting, and certainly found that in CPRI. I would say that, as the organization has evolved, and it's always had this mindset, but as the organization has evolved, I would say that we are far less investigators now and have really transitioned over the years into a research organization. Because it's not enough for us to get, hey, this is an interesting piece of video, which is rare, by the way. A lot of groups will show you video, but actual video is not terribly common. Or this is an interesting experience or an interesting piece of audio. But what's going on? Can we take this and can we quantify it? Can we measure it in some way? Can we document it on a graph?
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I think that leads into one of the things that I am constantly looking at, and I'm trying to seek others' opinions on it. Is there a difference between the ghost hunter and the paranormal researcher? I don't know if you can see the difference I'm drawing there.
Oh yeah.
What's your thought on that?
Yeah. Well, I think a ghost hunter and is more of an enthusiast, somebody who is out looking to find the phenomena, experience the phenomena, and that's about where it stops. The researcher, we're looking for, okay, here's the phenomena. We find it. Can we start to have some discussion about what this may be? What else is going on? Can we measure
what's causing it?
Can we show repetition? Can we quantify it in some way? And then hopefully we get to where we're showing correlation, and then the holy grail would be causation.
Well, and that's one thing that my group is trying very hard to do, and it sounds like yours is doing the same, is trying to get past the thrill of hearing the footsteps or seeing the possible shadow person, and actually coming up with proof positive or evidence that we can present to a jury, if you will. And I see one of the biggest problems is there's a lot of folks out there that want to enjoy it, and I can't blame them for that, but there's got to be a next step, if you will. Would you agree?
No, I mean, when something happens, it is exciting.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's exciting. But exactly what's the next step? Because that's not going to get the attention of people in the mainstream scientific community.
Well, no, it's not.
That's not going to get them looking at it.
No, and it's one thing for the thrills, and let's face it, the thrills will fade out. The general folks that are doing it just for the excitement of it, that will eventually fade out, and hopefully that will leave just those that are looking to continue this research and find those answers. Let me ask you this: you're talking about quantifying. Can you give me some examples of what you and your group have been able to do?
Sure. We have. What we've tried to do is we've tried to, first of all, we talk about that repetition thing. Does activity occur? Does it repeat over time? Is it something that we see happening over and over again? So one of the things that we have done, and I will use this because it's a place that we have been going to for at least 4 years now, Bacon's Castle, which is in Surrey, Virginia, down by the Jamestown settlement. And it's the oldest brick structure in the New World. And half of it was built in 1665, and the other half was built in 1854. It's a place that for centuries, literally, has had reports of paranormal activity. And it is one of those locations that we have kind of treated as a laboratory where we can go in and we can set up at various times of the year, over multiple years at this point, and collect data. So when we go in, we are setting up what you might expect, DVR cameras, and we try to literally cover the place. We'll use easily a couple dozen at a time, depending on the size of the space. We'll run live monitored audio recorders. We will drop additional audio recorders around. But then the thing that we're doing is dropping in data loggers. And these are just off-the-shelf things that anyone can buy. And we are trying to constantly monitor things like temperature, barometric pressure, UV, ionizing radiation, lumens, which is visible light.
Right.
We'll have an accelerometer, vibration, and say, okay, we got that voice. Now what? Because we're syncing everything to an atomic clock, so that we can, here's our start time, here's our finish time. The event occurred at this time. That's synced to the data logger. What does the data logger show?
Okay.
And we are getting findings.
Well, have you? Go ahead. Yeah, that's what I was
ahead.
hoping for. No, I was going to ask you. Give me an example. I want to know something where you've been able to correlate it.
Okay. One of the things that we have been finding is every area has background radiation, ionizing radiation. In Central Virginia, the average is about 12 counts per minute. A danger level would be 100 counts per minute. Someplace like, and I've used this example, Philadelphia, 30 counts is the background.
Okay. We're
seeing spikes upwards of 50 counts per minute simultaneous to an event. So say we get a voice, for example.
Okay.
We'll get a spike in ionizing radiation. We've seen the same thing with UV spikes. We did a private residence within the last year where there was a UV spike in a hallway at night. No known UV source that was dramatic. Had you stood next to it, you'd have gotten a sunburn, as our research coordinator, Brad Bradley, described it, and it was pretty apt.
Okay.
So why is that happening? And the thing is, we don't know.
Well, and I think that's a big, and nobody knows for sure just yet. How often are you able, you're saying you're getting it off, but how often are you able to actually corroborate or triangulate, is a word we use in our business, the police field. How often have you been able to actually corroborate a piece of evidence such as an EV?
It's tricky because one of the things that we have noticed is that if there's some sort of data spike, we'll use the ionizing radiation, for example, that data logger is only going to cover a certain amount of space. So if the event occurs, what we're finding is that radiation spike is in a very small area.
Okay.
It's not at the other end of the building, for example. That radiation spike is occurring in a very localized area, no more than really like a 6-foot radius. So what's going on? Another thing that we have monitored.
Well, do you have an opinion of what's going on? I mean, when you say what's going on, do you have an opinion of what that isolated spot, what's that telling you?
What's causing it?
Yeah, I mean, do you have an opinion or?
I would be extraordinarily speculative.
Okay, fair enough.
What we're doing is we're seeing, okay, we have a pattern of this. Now, what is causing it? Truth is, we don't know. We really legitimately don't know. I think there's a lot of discussion in mainstream science of wormholes, multiverse, all kinds of very, very, very trippy physics stuff.
See, and that
does that relate to it somehow?
Well, and that's the
We don't
kicker,
know.
Alan. I don't think there are people out there that say they know, but I think the truth of the matter is we don't know. And I applaud you for putting it out like that. You find there's an anomaly, you find that there's something strange going on, but you don't know. And that's where we've got to go, I think, in the paranormal field, is finding a way to take that evidence and somehow coming up with an answer. And I don't know how close we are to that, but I do like your work in that area.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. And we're definitely seeing some patterns. I mean, that.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, folks, to this next section of Paranormal Stakeout with my guest, Alan Slonaker. Al, having a great discussion here. Now, we were talking about some of the things that your group does to aid in your scientific research of the paranormal, and you were going into the GOES satellites, and I had to cut you off there. Take it from the top and help my audience understand what you're doing with the satellites and the significant information you've gotten from it.
Okay. Well, again, the GOES satellite it's a weather satellite. It's put up by NOAA, and it measures the Earth's magnetic field. And that, if you look at it, you can go to NOAA's website, you can pull it up, you can look at it, and it cycles up and down the magnetic field, and you're looking at it on a graph, and it goes up and down over the course of any given day, what we've noticed is that as it is cycling down, as it's on the downward slope, that is when we are getting activity. As it starts to bottom out, and when it hits bottom, anything. But when it goes down again, it repeats. And we saw this time and time and time again, to the point where we had been looking at the GOES satellite information prior to going into an investigation, and would look at it during the night. We said, whoa, we probably got to stop. And so we did. We stopped and started reviewing GOES data after an investigation and trying to see if anything that we captured matched up to where it would be time-wise on the GOES graph. And we kept finding that correlation. So again, it's a situation of what is going on?
Exactly.
And we don't know. I think it would certainly show that there is some sort of environmental factor in play, for sure. What precisely that is and how it relates to what we would call paranormal phenomena is anybody's guess at this point. But it is certainly something that we've seen a correlation, a significant correlation. And, if any of your listeners are involved in this type of research as well, we'd love to see, this same thing done over, say, the Western GOES satellite out over California, to see if they're getting the same correlation.
Well, so I'll put that call out to any of my listeners out there in the West Coast. try and get this data and get back with Alan. I mean, that's the type of cooperation we need between groups in order to correlate all this information and get consistent data. So anybody out there in the West Coast, see what you can't do to help out. That got to get away from the scientific end of it a little bit, because obviously there's other parts to paranormal research. Do you use any other types of techniques, i.e. mediums, to assist in your investigations?
No, not at all. Not at all. No mediums, no dowsing, nothing like that. I mean, first of all, how do you prove the validity of the medium?
Well taken.
I mean, certainly from a scientific standpoint. So we do not use that. We're trying to use, to the greatest extent, our machines, impartial machines like the data loggers, for example. And it can actually produce data, something that we can throw up on a computer screen and say, okay, well, this happened and that happened.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Well, in your work then, how many investigations do you think, off the top of your head, how many investigations has your group done that you're aware of or you've been a part of?
At this point, probably hundreds.
Okay.
And the group was founded in 2000. So I would definitely say we're probably into the hundreds at this point.
Okay. Then of those investigations, areas where you've been able to get some sort of what you perceive to be evidence, how often has your equipment been able to either debunk or confirm paranormal activity? If you could put a percentage on it, I won't hold you to it. It's just a curiosity question.
That would be a very difficult question to answer.
Okay.
And I also, from a research standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, I would probably qualify that statement with what we suspect may be paranormal activity in the classic sense. It would probably be more accurate to say anomalous activity.
Okay.
Because again, we can say ghost, but we don't know what a ghost is. Percentage-wise, it's hard to say.
Okay.
I don't think we've tracked it in those terms. I would say that a lot of the cases that I've worked on in my 10 years with the organization, a lot, particularly when you started to getting into private residence, people calling you up and saying, this is going on in my house. And I think the percentage of times that we go in and can, find a real world answer to what's going on, or show that there's something else in play, whether that is fraud or some sort of medical or mental health issue, is pretty high.
So would you say the majority of those cases you have a logical explanation?
I would say a good number.
Okay.
I would say a good number. Again, it's not something that we've ever really attempted to figure out in those terms, but I think we were pretty successful in a lot of instances being able to say, okay, here's a possible rational explanation, or here's a situation where there's say a mental health issue involved, and I think the folks that are out there doing this, particularly the groups that are more inclined to the enthusiast, need to be extraordinarily careful, because particularly with mental health issues, you can make a bad problem worse by going in and encouraging something that's not there.
Well, and that's one thing that does concern me about a lot of groups. Some of them well-meaning, some of them are just flat-out charlatans trying to take advantage of folks. But I do get worried about groups going in saying that they can help and solve a problem. And I would question that, and I would submit that most groups don't have the ability to positively identify what's going on, much less help. And that, I agree, can cause a lot of trouble with somebody that's looking to you for help.
And then you run across the people that legitimately, at least in my opinion, really do need help. Mm-hmm. And something is going on, and they really do need help. As an organization, we are not Ghostbusters. We are not paranormal eliminators. That's not in our organizational mandate.
Okay.
But we're human beings, and we're not unsympathetic. And if we can help, we will help.
Well, give me the ways you would help. Tell me some of the ways you guys would or could help an individual that is legitimately having a problem.
If somebody's, we go in and we document stuff, we collect data, and we say, okay, something's going on. Mm-hmm. We can't say precisely what it is, but something anomalous is going on. That person wants help. We will put them in touch with somebody that at least claims and that we have some faith in can help them. Mm-hmm. We will do that. It's these, and I'll use this case, and I'm hesitant because there's a lot of sensationalism gets associated with these kind of cases. But say like a demonic or a diabolical type haunt. And these things mm-hmm. are much rarer than I think television would have you believe.
That's because it's not exciting.
10 years.
It is exciting.
Yeah, in 10 years, I've been involved in 3, one of which I'm convinced in my heart was a diabolical haunt. Mm-hmm. One, the person has to want help, and then we have to put them in touch with, the appropriate group. We'll use an example most people would be familiar with, the Catholic Church, for example. It's like we put you in touch with the Catholic Church and contacts there. And we have a couple of our members that are pretty well informed and pretty knowledgeable on these types of situations. Again, this is outside of our organizational protocols. This is not what CPRI does. We're a research organization.
Okay.
But they will work with them as individuals, and we will try to get them connected with the resources that may be able to help them.
Any thought or any idea on how often that happens, where you have to call in somebody else?
I don't think it happens all that often, because again, we don't run across those types of haunts, mm-hmm. and I use that colloquially, but we don't run across those types of situations all that often. We did have one within the last year that was a private residence, and that was probably one of the most alarming cases that I've ever been on, and and it was a case that we as an organization actually backed out of because of that.
Well, that's going to be leading into one of my other questions as to one of your more intriguing investigations. So can you tell us a little bit more about this one?
I can do my best, yes.
Okay.
The case was a private residence. It was a case that we had been working for about 2 years, and we had been doing what we do and setting up, collecting data, and it was a pretty fruitful location for us from that standpoint. The one of the homeowners had contacted us for assistance, and there were some personal issues.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everybody, to our last section for tonight. Another great show. Alan has really enjoyed this. I've got a lot more questions, and I want to finish here in this story. But I want to remind everybody out there in my audience to visit Alan and the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation at their website, virginiaghosts.com. Would also like you to come back and take a look at my website at www.paranormalfbi.com. And certainly you can reach out to me at www.paranormalstakeout.com. Would love to hear from you on the websites or the Facebooks for the organizations. But also take a few minutes to look at www.xzbn.net for the terrific programming on the X Zone Broadcast Network that covers a variety of paranormal topics that you will not find anywhere else. So folks, take the time to check out those websites. Alan, in our last few minutes together, I'm dying to hear the rest of the story. Sorry I had to cut you off, my friend, but pick it up where you left off. You were getting some good, perhaps some EVPs. Your equipment was going off. Go ahead and finish.
Yes. So, this was a place we'd been investigating for some time, and the activity started to spike. The homeowner was reporting scratching sounds, loud bangs, things like a television coming on and off, shadow activity, that kind of thing. And I'm going to kind of cut to the chase because this was there was a lot going on with this, but it was something that yielded data for us.
Okay.
And the problem was that we go there the last time, and really nothing happened. The home was unusually quiet because we would normally set up in an outbuilding and monitor our video and audio so we could leave the house empty and then listen, and nothing really happened. And this was a place that the activity was crazy. It was there was a lot of mimicking in the house.
Mimicking. Explain what you mean by that.
You'd hear somebody, and this happened to one of our team members, heard another team member call his name in the house, and that team member wasn't in the house.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, not good stuff.
Anything seen in there at all?
The last night we were there, some shadow, what I would call like shadow blobs moving about, which were certainly get your attention.
Okay.
You know, and in a normal, lit environment. So we left that particular night. One of our investigators, prior to some of our team members leaving, looks over at an investigator's car, says, "Oh, so-and-so's investigator is in her car and she's starting it up." And he turns over his shoulder And so investigator is on the other side of the property, looks back at the car and goes, well, who the heck is that? And nobody's there. So it was disturbing. But the thing was, when we left, started to analyze the data from that particular investigation, and got an EVP that gave the name of and I'm not going to mention the name, but it was a name associated with diabolical type activity.
Now, when you say diabolical activity, you're talking demons, is that correct?
Yes. Which, when we talk about a research organization and everything that's gotten to us at this point in the interview, kind of makes us sound crazy. But but that was on the EVP. And so we had, and I'm not going to go into detail on it, but we had activity investigators. I was one that had activity follow us after the investigation.
So you had attachments, okay?
So we left. We said, we can't. The homeowner is not agreeing to discontinue the activity that we think may be, at least anecdotally, causing some of these problems. So, and again, this is not a scientific thing.
But I got to ask you this question. I got to ask you this question. And I once again, I applaud your scientific approach to this, but no, I don't think you're crazy. I think it's all part of this package that we call paranormal research. But now you're talking about things that you cannot scientifically quantify. So I got to ask you,
you're right.
Do you believe in ghosts and do you believe in demons? Have you experienced them? Maybe is a better way to put it for you.
Do I experience them?
Well, yeah. What do you believe? Do you believe that demons exist and that
I was raised in the Episcopal Church, so I definitely have a religious perspective, and I do believe in those things. As an individual, I think as an investigator, as a researcher, you have to be able to shelve that. But
just like we do as cops,
right? But as a cop, you're looking. As a cop investigating a crime, you're looking at data. True. That's really what you're doing. You're looking at data, but at the same time, a cop's best weapon at times is their gut. What does your gut tell you?
Absolutely.
And you have to listen to that. And so the end result was we did discontinue our involvement in this particular case, and we did. Kind of going back to your original question about that, are we going to try to get this person help? The person expressed interest in help. And in this particular case, this person had expressed that they were Wiccan. I said, okay. So we found a local Wiccan group out there and referred this person to that group. They took a look at the situation and said, this particular case is too far gone. We cannot help.
Now, what did they mean by what did they mean by was too far gone? I mean, what they
thought, and I'm not familiar with Wicca. It's not something I have a real good working knowledge on. But they felt that this particular situation was beyond their ability to help. Especially in light of the fact that the homeowner wouldn't discontinue the activity. And this, I find this to be a very interesting case because it's a case that kind of challenges your perceptions, and it's one of those cases that you think about how we approach things, and it just flies in the face of that. But you. Yeah, and that's and it's a case that definitely had me do a lot of reflection, but it's we got data, we followed our protocols, but
you got data
ultimately. We got
data. You followed your protocols, yet you had those other personal experiences, and just looking at it from my point of view. Your gut feeling, things happen, things happen. that's another area I think that we got to reconcile within this field and somehow be able to quantify that. I don't know how to do it. I'm not suggesting we do, but there's no question what happened to you, what you saw there occurred. And you have a very scientific mind.
But when you're talking about this field, you know, I think a lot of the problem as a field is that it starts to trend towards the sensational, and there is sensational elements. You know, there is no doubt sensational stuff does happen, but I think that if we lean too heavily on that as a field, the research gets forgotten.
There's no doubt about it.
And mainstream science and academia is not going to be attracted to the sensationalism. They're going to be attracted to the data.
I totally agree. And you know, there's no question though that the folks' desire to learn more about it is a huge help in developing the field. At the same time, it's one of the biggest detriments. I totally understand. How do people feel? How do your colleagues feel about this as a cop? Do you talk to your peers about this at all?
I make no secrets about what I do and my geeky proclivities. But,
I do the same. Everybody knows what I do also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. You reach a certain point in life, and I'm over 40, so and I'm married, and I could really. I don't concern myself with opinions that much, but most of them, you get the good-natured ribbing sometimes, but other than that, I mean, most of them are actually interested in it in one way or another.
I got